So here's a game we had yesterday. Didn't record for some reason, so I'm going to take you through it quick, which you might prefer, I don't know. Unusual opening here with just e3 instead of e4. And I tend to follow Bruce Lee's idea. When my opponent expands, I contract. When my opponent contracts, I expand. So I expand. I'd play my equivalent, e5. And I'm going pretty much for a reversal of the Spanish opening, aren't I? But then I decide to do this because he's done all these rook pawns. So again, I want to do something that's opposite to that. I don't want to do rook pawns as well. I want to do something stronger. So again, I'm not just doing fianchetto because I'm doing fianchetto. That tires me when people do that. Fianchetto must be for a reason, and that's why I transform it immediately to this. Because you can see the dark square control I've got here is really quite nice. He tries to maintain some dark square control, and this loses him a lot of structure. He's making that knight pawn very weak, which is always a risk where you advance the rook pawn. You're going to weaken that knight pawn. So we're just lining things up now. Thought it would be nice to get rid of that bishop if I can. Now, do I recapture here? This was a big question for me. If I recapture, what's defending that pawn? Not a lot, really. I decided to leave it for now and instead strengthen my position. So I'm a move ahead in terms of castling now. We get a check here. That's fine because I've got no pieces I want to block it with, but I've got this, which does become an aggressive block. He kind of has to go all the way back or he's just going to be chased around the board. And again, as you see, his extra pawn doesn't really help him that much because it's a doubled pawn, really. I can come up here and bring more troops into the fight, and this is attacking that weak pawn. I could take it now, but then he would take... His rook would be attacking my knight and his pawn would be attacking my bishop, so that would never do. So I can't actually capture the free pawn. I can capture that one. And yes, he still has an extra pawn now. So his plan kind of worked, if you like. I decide that the bishop, it's better if I clone it. Change the queen into a dark square bishop, so now I've got light square bishop and dark square queen, which is... It's not always what you want, but it's often what makes sense. And I can see this weak bishop pawn of his now, that only his knight is at the moment protecting. And his weak rook as well, quite honestly, that only his queen is protecting, and he's still waiting to castle. I decide to grab this empty file, although it does unprotect my bishop, so I need to be careful of what pawns he advances.
Kinside castling.
We castle. That's the end of a very complicated and weird opening. So, how does it proceed? Well, he brings the rook back, connects it back up to the queen, which is a good idea. It's a good idea. You don't want your rooks flying up ahead like that. But I bring my rook to here, attacking that pawn now twice. Queen comes here. Not convinced that that's where she should have gone. I've got other goodies I can bring. And I don't even need to worry about that rook attack, the pawn attack on my rook, because I've got this. And this isn't good for his queen. She's going to have to move. And she's got a lot of pieces now that are being a bit scary. In fact, I had another attack on her there, potentially. But, you know, where's it going to end? Where's it going to end? So instead, I just decided I would get rid of the pawn. Yes, he threatens the rook, but he also creates an obstacle for his bishop, which is good. And now I can actually take that pawn. And now I'm attacking this other one twice. What's he going to do about it? That's the question. Well, I've got this file here. Incidentally, the piece count is identical. And so is the pawn count now. We've managed to get the pawn count even, so everything's dead even right now. But I think I've got better attacks. And I've got this nice slotting together of my knights. They cannot be moved now. Nothing can move them except another knight or a bishop or a sack of a rook, or something like that. And then he didn't see that I had also attacked his rook there. In fact, I didn't see it either until after this knight move, and then suddenly I realised he'd given me the rook. Queen comes here, and I just pop back onto there. So now I'm a whole piece up, and this cannot be good. I'm a whole rook up. His knight comes over here. He's going to try and bring the knights over, but I've got a lovely fork here. What I didn't realise is that he had a hidden knight there, able to take my rook, so now we're even. So I decided to make it more even and just make a stake for a claim in the centre with these pawns. Attacks my queen. I come here because then they'll be doubly attacking the pawn. And again, all is well. His knight's going to try and cause a bit more mayhem. Grabs a pawn.
Check.
And then moves down for check, and I move to the square where I've just created ready. Now I can take that pawn, but I can't really because the knight would be lost. Comes here, and now I'm okay. I've got the pawn back. So he could have taken my knight with his queen, but if he had done, I would have done that. And it's sort of even Stevens. We could talk about which is better, a knight or a bishop at the end game. I would say that a knight is probably slightly better. It has the forking abilities and it has multicoloured use. A bishop only has one colour of use. He could have sort of pinned that knight, but he didn't. So I can now move it. He grabs another pawn, so now he's a pawn up again, but who do you think is best here, white or black? I think it's clear that I am way safer than white right here. We can go here now. And we can go here, and then we have the corner for check, which is pretty nasty. So we went here instead. And what's this doing? It's covering that square, that G3 square. He comes here, because he really has nothing.
Check.
And then obviously I've got a fork here. Queen fork wins his knight. And that was the end of the game. He then just let the clock run out and resigned. Took my rating up to the grand total of 2044. I think that's the highest rating I've ever had. An interesting game. Really not that exciting, but just goes to show that good structure is at the root of good chess, and I think you agree. If you do agree, don't forget to like and subscribe to the most relaxing chess channel on YouTube, Chess Voices. And we will see you all again very soon. Bye for now.